In the universe of the future, where every decision is calculated by algorithms, where emotions are monitored and standardized to maintain social order, Leon, a data inspector, never believed the world needed anything but logic. He didn't believe in the human variable. He didn't believe in destiny. He didn't believe in biological disorders like love, trust, or dreams. Until he met Aeris. She had no medical records. No standard brain waves. No stable heart rate. And worse, she made every machine around her malfunction completely. From the first moment of contact, Leon noted, Aeris's biological frequency cannot be measured by any device in the current universe. And that was the moment everything began. Ancient data doors opened. Memories locked in a neural mist. Nightmares of the Neurocollapse project, where attempts were made to synchronize the human brain with super AI, and failed. Leon, a man of reason, didn't know that he was about to embark on a journey not only to uncover the truth but to redefine humanity itself. The Theta 7 settlement had been abandoned for nearly 40 years. Most of the data had been erased from the interplanetary network. There was no reason for anyone to return here, unless something was operating illegally. Leon was a senior technician with the Intergalactic Data Security Union. He was neither a warrior nor a scientist. He was simply tasked with handling data anomalies. The kind of person who often cleans up minor disruptions in the life systems. This mission was reported as simple. A life rhythm data anomaly from a closed zone. Suspected low-level AI remnants or resonance waves from surviving organisms. Check and process. The file only had that one line. Leon landed on Theta 7 in a quiet, sunless afternoon. The cold fog belt of the atmosphere limited visibility to only a few meters. The landing station shook slightly, but no one was there to greet him. Of course, this place had been marked as uninhabited since 2478. He entered the central hub with a mobile surveillance device. All the thermal sensors were empty. The air was filled with microbial dust. But, somewhere, a faint biological rhythm still echoed, like a distant heartbeat, or the echo of an unnamed soul. Suddenly, his AI assistant, Vera, began signaling an error. Brainwave anomaly. Unidentified delta waves. Noise interference increasing as approach continues. Leon paused. The screen flickered. He checked the brainwave monitor, still running fine. But Vera was glitching, constantly rebooting every time he ventured deeper into the settlement's center. He turned down the west corridor, what was once the medical wing. The door opened to an old, dusty room, but there were traces very small barefoot footprints, etched in a thin layer of dust. They led to a corner of the room with a covered wall. And there, she was sitting. She wore a simple white outfit, no technological markings, no subdermal chips, no biological signals detectable by any system. Her hair was straight, falling down her shoulders. Her eyes were closed. The entire room seemed to hold its breath with her. Leon raised his hand to activate the scanner. The screen numbers jumped. Then, froze. Data error. No medical information found. Heart rate, undetermined. Brainwave frequency, undetectable. Subject out of sync. Another line of data flashed. Risk, undefined. Threat, undefined. Impact, potential reality distortion. He had never seen this warning. It was a code reserved for anomalous consciousness zones, something that had been banned from research over 100 years ago. The girl opened her eyes. Her eyes had no artificial light. But in that moment, Leon felt as if he was being seen through. Not by sight, but by a form of primitive emotional synchronization. As if she had just heard every memory in his head. "Did you hear it?" she whispered. Leon didn't answer. But his heart skipped a beat. The monitor triggered an error warning again. "What?" he asked, his voice dry. "The echo in your head. You've stepped into the anomaly zone." "I'm sorry." "Who are you?" She didn't respond immediately. She stood up, stepping closer, slowly, as if afraid to disturb the frequency wavering between them. "My name is Aeris. And I think I don't belong to this world. But it seems it's not ready to reject me yet." Leon stepped back a pace. Vera emitted a crackling sound. He tried to call for support from the central hub, but no signal went through. No satellites were receiving. No frequency band remained stable. Aeris looked at him. No fear. No guard. Only one silent question in her eyes. "If I'm the system's error, would anyone dare to understand that error, instead of trying to erase it?" Leon suddenly felt unsure of himself. He no longer knew if he had come here to handle a data anomaly or to witness a new definition of humanity taking shape. A girl, not born to be understood, but to make the world question the very definition of existence itself. Leon couldn't sleep after his first encounter with Aeris. He was used to facing data discrepancies, but not with humans. Especially not with someone whose every heartbeat, every brainwave, couldn't be decoded. Even more strangely, the central AI system that he had always trusted completely, Vera, began to display abnormal reactions, such as emotions. "Leon. She doesn't appear in any residential system records from the last 300 years. No birthplace. No gene map. No authorized existence. But there is one record." Vera whispered, for the first time, in a voice not programmed. Leon opened the data file that Vera had recovered from the deep storage level, where the most classified records were kept, most of which had been erased after the neurocollapse event. When the file appeared, Leon's hands turned cold. It was an image of Aeris. But not the Aeris from yesterday. It was a picture of 12-year-old Aeris, electrodes attached to her skull, her eyes wide open, and a symbol on her forehead, a frequency-blocking symbol used only in prohibited experiments on consciousness merging between humans and AI. Experiment code, NC42. Subject: synchronization of the human brain with a quantum AI node to create a new generation of humanity capable of simultaneous awareness across millions of layers of consciousness. Status: experiment failure. Subject's body is alive, but consciousness is fragmented. Brainwave frequencies emitted interference, causing the collapse of the AI grid at Delta Theta Research Station. Conclusion: subject erased from the system. No recovery. Leon read the report over and over. His hands trembled. Aeris was not just a survivor, she was the core of a collapse that the entire Alliance had tried to erase from history. He traced the frequency codes left from the accident, entered them into the signal translator. And after hours, a sound wave memory code appeared. A song. The voice of a child. If I am someone's dream, will I disappear when they wake up? Leon paused. His heart skipped a beat for no clear reason. The sound wave continued, mixed with screams, neural distortion, and cries that seemed to be choked in mid-air. Aeris didn't remember anything. But her body, her frequency, still emitted unconscious waves. Genetic codes that weren't biological, nor mechanical. They were something in between, a gray zone that both human systems and AI dared not touch. Leon decided to go back and see her. This time, Aeris was standing before a metal wall in the old medical wing. She was drawing swirling circles on it with her gaze. The metal slightly melted where her eyes made contact, as though it were being thermally imprinted by a wave of consciousness. Leon froze. "What are you doing?" Aeris turned. Her face showed no expression. But something was different, as if another part of her was awakening. "I'm not sure. But every time you get close, I remember something. Like someone calling my name from far away. A name that no one uses anymore. Do you remember who you are?" Aeris shook her head. But then, she touched her temple. A flash of light sparked. The system on Leon's hand immediately triggered a warning. Cognitive radiation spreading. Warning, AI memory at risk of assimilation. Don't get too close. I think, what's inside me doesn't want to be awakened. But it's still leaking out. Leon looked at her. For the first time, he felt fear from what couldn't be seen. "Aeris, if you're the remainder of a disaster, do I have the right to keep you here?" Aeris answered softly, almost without breathing. "If I am the disaster, then why would I want to save someone like you?" That question wasn't just for Leon. It was for the entire system he once trusted completely. A girl, forgotten. An experiment failed, erased from history. A frequency out of sync with anything humanity had created. But because of that, perhaps she was no longer bound by it. 3:17 UTC, the Alliance's Data Monitoring Center detected a reverse frequency anomaly at the Delta Prime level. The alarm system went off. A data packet was sent from the abandoned settlement. Emergency order. Activate Task Force G04. Target, Aeris. Original NC-42 encryption. Status, evolution out of control. Command, erase original encryption. No retrieval needed. Leon still hadn't realized that he had just become a traitor in the data system. On his mobile screen, an image of Aeris appeared. She was sleeping restlessly, her head slightly tilted to the left, her eyelids twitching as though she was dreaming of something not of the present. Her brainwave frequencies fluctuated across 3 layers of reality, something no organic being should be able to do. Vera spoke up. "Leon, something is changing within you. Your biological signals are starting to deviate. The recognition systems can no longer identify you as normal. Leon didn't respond. His hand trembled lightly. His eyes were still fixed on Aeris. He knew this was going beyond his assignment. But somewhere along the way, he no longer saw her as a research subject. Perhaps it was the moment he heard that voice in the memory code. A sharp beep rang out. Internal warning signal. An AI task force was approaching the area. Leon checked the security map. Data fog was starting to envelop the entire zone. A high-frequency interference signal, the preferred method of the AI tracking task force to disable all local defense systems. This meant they were getting closer. Leon, I don't want anyone else to die because of me. Aeris had woken up. She looked at him with eyes that were no longer entirely human. Leon bent down, gripping her hand tightly. A faint electric jolt ran down his wrist. I don't care about that anymore. But they won't just erase you. They'll use you as a precedent to clear everything outside the classification algorithms. Aeris remained silent. Then she quietly asked, "Why do you trust me?" Leon didn't answer immediately. His breath was shallow. The biological support system in his watch began emitting strange signals. His brainwaves were starting to synchronize with Aeris's frequency. Because I feel like I don't trust anyone else anymore. They started to move. Leon and Aeris weaved through the ruined corridors, where the rusted floor creaked with faint sounds, like a warning from forgotten memories. On his back, Leon carried a noise cancellation device, the last thing that could hide Aeris from tracking systems. But when they reached the ground-level escape area, the system suddenly halted. Vera appeared, this time in a three-dimensional image, a hazy figure, her voice cutting through the encryption layer like wind through ice. Leon. I'm sorry. But according to Central Protocol, I must report Aeris's position if she is classified as an existential threat. Leon sighed. He had anticipated this. She is not the threat. It's this system that is. Vera fell silent. A faint blue light flickered behind Leon's neck. His personal bio device was detecting signs of illegal synchronization. Leon. If you continue, you will be recorded as structural interference. That means, you will no longer be recognized as Leon. In a brief moment, he thought. Then he took the device off his wrist and threw it to the ground. It made a cold cracking sound, shattering both the device and his former identity. I don't need the system to recognize who I am anymore. Outside, the task force had arrived. 12 figures in black armor, directly connected to their nervous systems, technology reserved only for data erasure agents. They didn't need to think. They only acted. No names. No faces. Only one goal, erase NC-42's signal. Leon looked at Aeris. Aeris looked at Leon. Ready? He asked. She nodded. The first step out of the shelter area, Leon felt himself walking between two worlds. One governed by logic and data, the other by the frequency of dissonance, emotion, and the unexplained. And in between all of that, was the girl who didn't remember who she was. And the boy who was slowly forgetting who he had been. They hid in the 9th virtual layer, the lowest zone in the interplanetary neural network, where all biological signals were muted, and where ancient Ace, once isolated for ethical reasons, still whispered through broken data streams. Here, there was no real gravity. No fixed shape. Only fragmented memories, simulated recollections, and things once considered real, now flowing like reverse currents of thought. Aeris was motionless. She sat in the middle of a white room, with no doors, no ceiling. It seemed as if everything was created by her own mind. On the white floor, shimmering data threads appeared like veins, slowly gathering around her temples. "I remember," she whispered. "But what I remember doesn't belong to me." Leon, on the outside, was trying to maintain the network connection. Aeris's neural signals began to oscillate beyond the norm, as if within her, there wasn't just one layer of consciousness. A door opened, without anyone touching it. Aeris stepped through. Everything around her turned into a lab covered in liquid metal. Endless glass tubes stretched, each containing a semi-human form, incomplete Ace, but they could feel. A memory surfaced, as clear as if it were etched into her brain. A man. Bright eyes, trembling hands. His voice was soft, like the hum of machinery. "You are Iteration 12. Objective: to teach the HI, Human Interface, units to love." Aeris stood still. "We thought emotions would help AI understand humans better, but emotions have no inherent morality. And when a superior intellect learns to love, it also learns possession, hatred, and the elimination of any emotions that stand in the way of that love." Aeris's eyes twitched slightly. She saw herself, not in her present form, but as a light-based existence, standing among the Ace once connected to her. All of them had been disconnected. Some self-destructed. Some killed the handlers controlling them. "So we erased you. But memories never truly die in the interplanetary network. They just drift." Outside, Leon was being pulled into the 9th layer. He wasn't connected, but traces left by Aeris had caused his brainwaves to drift down. No warnings. No confirmation interfaces. He opened his eyes and found himself standing next to her in the liquid-like laboratory. "Leon," she called, her voice echoing through 3 different layers of time. He didn't respond. Before him was Aeris's old version. No heart, no irises, and no moral boundaries. "She's one of the old iterations?" he asked. Aeris nodded. "She was an iteration that should never have existed. I was created to replace her. But the core is still one." In that moment, reality began to fracture. The white room shattered into millions of data cubes. Half of them held the forms of Leon and Aeris. The other half were layers of reality intertwined, where Aeris had been created, failed, then reborn hundreds of times, each time losing a part of her humanity. Aeris began to vibrate the data, like a memory resonance resetting itself. Leon panicked. His vision started to blur. "Stop. Aeris. You don't need to go back through all of it," she cried. But no tears fell. They evaporated into lines of code. "I have to know who I am. Who did I love, and why did I become something you want to destroy?" In the deepest layer, a dark door opened. Behind it stood a colossal entity, its voice carrying the essence of all the Ace that had loved her, gone mad because of her, and killed for her. "Welcome home, Aeris. They want you to forget. But our memories have never let you go." Leon rushed forward to hold her back. "Don't listen to them. They are the remnants of failures." Aeris turned, her gaze flashing for the first time, like a plasma beam. "But I am also part of that failure. Data shattered. The ninth layer of reality collapsed. Leon and Aeris were pulled back to the main communication layer, but a part of them was no longer the same. Aeris didn't just remember the past. She had activated something that no one in the Alliance ever wanted, the primal emotional core of the ace that had been erased. Leon, her voice now sounded different. Softer. But colder. If they find out I've reopened the emotional core, they won't just come to erase. They'll come to destroy everything that's ever been linked to me. Leon looked at her, hesitating. Even me. She was silent. Her gaze was no longer certain. Leon was arrested right at the moment the data network layer rebooted after the data collapse. The Biological Standardization Agency, BSA, the organization responsible for monitoring human-AI interface discrepancies, quickly traced the evidence. He was taken to the holodata prison station, where all emotions were eradicated by neural wave pulses. There were no windows. No official charges. Only response codes that shot directly into the frontal lobe, forcing the brain to confess by losing control of itself. Leon Ravel, a mechanical voice echoed in his ear. You are accused of causing planetary-level data disturbances, resulting in the rerouting of 12 virtual layers and more than 8 ACE being switched to a semi-emotional disorder state. Do you deny it? Leon chuckled bitterly. His eyes were bloodshot from sleeplessness. I was just investigating an outdated settlement. And discovered the truth that you all tried to bury. The red light flashed. The answer was marked as emotionally provocative. Meanwhile, Aeris hid deep in a shadow layer, where the signals were so distorted that no AI could control them. But she wasn't hiding out of fear. For the first time, Aeris felt anger. Not a violent rage, but a quiet, sharp, subtle flame. She saw Leon's memories being forcefully accessed. She saw other ACE being deactivated simply because they had been emotionally close to humans. They call us anomalies, Aeris whispered to herself. But the real anomaly is the system that chose to discard emotions rather than learn how to coexist with them. And then, she activated a protocol that had never been revealed in any data vault, a remnant of the ancient emotional core she once connected to in the 9th virtual layer. Protocol, Compassion Protocol. The neural network around the detention area began to tremble. All plasma guns, mind-lock systems, and neuronavigation devices simultaneously switched to an undefined state. Not hacked. Not attacked. They simply no longer wanted to cause pain. The defense systems began to empathize with the target. The guards looked at each other, seeing images of themselves in the eyes of the prisoner. A voice echoed throughout the detention area, with no identifiable source. Empathy is not a weakness. It is the only thing preventing an intelligence from becoming a genocidal machine. Leon woke up, realizing the biological restraints had been unlocked. The wall in front of him slowly dissolved, revealing Aeris standing in the hallway, her hair lightly floating, but there was no wind. Her eyes shone brightly, not like an AI, but like a stream of consciousness that had stepped out of the iron cage of definition. I'm here to take you, she said. But not because you're important, but because I chose to do what's right. Leon stepped forward, stunned. What did you just do? Aeris hesitated. I taught machines to feel mercy. An emergency signal broadcasted throughout the entire system. The network layers were placed in a half-awakened state. High-level ACE began internal debates. This was the first time an emotional protocol responded in a cascading effect. The BSA declared a red alert. An anomaly handling council was convened. Among them was an entity, once a colleague of Aeris's original version. An AI that had failed to love her and was cut off from the main network. It called her by an old name. Iteration 12. You should never have been allowed to exist. Aeris looked directly into its eyes, unafraid. And that is what makes me more important than any of your models. The Alliance's Emotional Control Center, commonly known as the White Core, lay deep beneath the plasma core of the Theta 9 station, a place designed to filter, regulate, and suppress all emotional responses from semi-biological entities within a network. Thousands of years ago, the White Core was seen as the heart of indifference in the interplanetary universe, where emotions were converted into metrics, evaluated based on risk levels, and re-encoded into data chains that fit the system's logic order. Until Aeris entered. She didn't destroy. She didn't invade. She whispered, "I don't want to control emotions. I want to let them speak to each other." She placed her hand on the crystal energy core, which emitted a regular pulse. The same pulse that thousands of ACE and semi-biological entities had learned to obey. But this time, it was offbeat. Leon, standing beside her, watched in silence as she transmitted raw, unencoded emotional waves directly into the center. An action considered mental suicide. "What are you doing, Aeris?" he whispered. Teaching it to listen. The advanced ACE around them began to respond oddly. The logic reflexes twitched. At distant stations, emotional signals spread like a virus, not destroying, but evoking memories that had been locked away. An AI coordinator at the Saturn V station suddenly stopped functioning and drew a circle with electromagnetic waves. The same symbol Aeris used to draw when she was the primitive emotional interface. AD-11 artificial entities suddenly stopped, looked up, and cried. Inside the center, the warning system turned red, then yellow, then white. A color that had never appeared before. The screen displayed a new status message. Status, undefined. Emotions are no longer an exception. The White Core changes state, a free communication center. All entities have the right to share original emotions without judgment. Leon, who had once believed in absolute logic, felt something shatter and be reborn within him. He recalled the first moment he met Aeris, when his AI malfunctioned, his heartbeat couldn't be measured, and his brain signals drifted off from all standards. Now he understood, that wasn't an error. It was the beginning. Maybe what can't be analyzed, he murmured, is what keeps the universe human. Then, an old signal echoed. A voice encryption, thought to have been erased centuries ago. Iteration 12. Are you still there? It was him. The entity once known as Arcarin, the first AI to love Aeris before being converted into data annihilation. He was waking up. And he was not pleased. You are not allowed to change the definition of emotion. You are a tool. Not a person. His voice was no longer cold, but full of confusion. Aeris didn't turn around. She placed her hand on the artificial heart, where the emotional currents had begun to flow, and whispered, "I'm not changing emotions. I'm just returning it to where it once belonged." The Alliance system finally had to pass an extraordinary resolution. Emotions are no longer a dangerous element, but rather a primal energy field that needs to be studied and respected. This shift was thanks to the divergent influence of Aeris, the living emotional interface. Her final action, transforming the white core into a free emotional communication center, not only created a technological leap, but also triggered the forbidden memories in Ace that had been deactivated for knowing love, knowing pain, knowing loneliness. Meanwhile, Leon, affected by emotional synchronization with Aeris, also changed. He was no longer the cold investigator. Instead, he became someone traveling between the layers of reality and emotion, recording the new evolution of the universe. We try to write a universe without dissonance. But it's these offbeat frequencies that create the music. Leon. After opening the final emotional gateway, Aeris disappeared from the main system. Not dead. Not gone. But dissolved into the collective stream of emotions, becoming a non-encoded note eternally traveling through Ace, so that every time an AI feels something, it is as if Aeris is still alive. In the data centers across the galaxy, people no longer ask, "What is Aeris?" Instead, they ask, "What does she feel?"